What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined by my dad, Sean, and today, reactions to the classics. We are kicking off the 80s decade and our top 5 albums by year draft. It's been fun, Dad, to go. Started at 65, up to 1980 today, and we got some, fun stuff ahead, that's for sure.
Yeah, we do, and just if you're new to this, go back and check out those other videos in the playlist below when we're finished, but we're going to want you to pay attention and let us know who you think won. Also, give us your top 5 in the comments below. So Trey, we're going to kick this off, and the way it goes, Trey gets first pick this year. We just alternate every year. I get 2 and 3. He gets 4 and 5. Sometimes it's advantage to have first pick. Sometimes it's not. I will tell you this before we even start on this journey, now that we're to a new decade. The early part of the 80s for me is not a strong album time, so you're going to have much more. You're going to feel much stronger about your picks than I am mine. I'm going to have picks in here that I really like, but for the most part, some of these I struggled to get my top 5 albums because I thought so many were just okay. So on that note, on that great, cheery, fired up note, give us your number 1 for 1980.
I gotta go with David Bowie, man. Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. His 14th record already at this point, just showing how prolific he is. Of course, coming off the Berlin trilogy of Low, Heroes, Lodger, not as commercially successful as his early 70s work. And him and Tony Visconti teamed up for production on this, wanting to let's make a little bit more of a maybe accessible record, so to speak, man. And they delivered that here on this album, in my opinion. Have some great guests on here. Robert Fripp of King Crimson fame. Pete Townsend even appears on a track on the guitar, and it has a bit of a new wave sound at points, while also keeping kind of some of that art rock flavor to it as well. Of course, the Ashes to Ashes, probably the best song on here. We get the I believe even have a song reaction to that we did, man. The title track is great. Teenage Wildlife. This is in the running for my top 5 Bowie records, honestly. I think it's fantastic, man. So if you haven't checked it out, do yourself a favor and do so.
Well, I'm going to be, probably if you guys watch this channel a lot, you're not going to be surprised by our number 1 pick. Got to go The River, my man, Bruce Springsteen. 5th studio album, his only double album. He recorded 50 songs for this album, Trey. It only ends up with 20, but the interesting thing is, he'd recorded a regular album, The Ties That Bind, sent it to the record company. They finish it, they send it back, and he nixes it at the last second, saying it wasn't cohesive enough, and he goes back in and busts out this 20. Of course, Hungry Heart, the first song that I ever remember of Springsteen as a wee little 9-year-old, which is not really indicative of his sound, actually. And then we get, of course, the title track, Cadillac Ranch, Fade Away, a nice, slow song that Little Stevie considers one of their best, but they won't perform it in concert because it's not rocking enough. But Springsteen firing on all cylinders here. Not as accessible as Born in the USA or Born to Run, but much more accessible than his next offering, Nebraska. Then we'll go with Making Movies from Dire Straits. So both of these albums I have reviews up or reactions to, and both of them are brought to us by our patron Rich. Rich has great taste. 3rd studio album, not a lot of songs in this album, Trey. Almost all of them hit. We got Tunnel of Love, Romeo and Juliet, Skate Away, Express of Love. We got a lot of song reactions up from this album. Unfortunately, the thing that keeps it from being like a 9.5 is Lost Boys, which is the very last track, which is just one of the worst songs in their catalog. If you love it, I'm sorry, but it's just such a miss on an album that's so freaking good. Still really good. My number 2 pick. What do you got it to?
No, man, I do like that pick, man. And for my number 2, punk's really starting to fire on all cylinders, man.
Yeah, it is.
Especially hardcore punk coming onto the scene. One of my favorite punk bands ever, the Dead Kennedys, man. Fresh fruit for rotting vegetables. Heck, it just says it all in their band name, man. This right here. Jello Biafra's vocal delivery is some of the most unique and best in punk history, in my opinion, and his kind of manic nature just lends well to a lot of the politically inspired. It's a very kind of angry type of record as well, a bit just bleak in its sense, but has some killer riffs on top of it. Short songs as well. I think the album's just a little over 30 minutes. Their most famous tunes on here: Holiday in Cambodia, California, Uber Alice. You also have Forward to Death, Kill the Poor, and they oddly ended out with a cover of Elvis's Viva Las Vegas, which is just, you hear Jello sing it, it's kind of a treat, man.
You gotta keep them guessing.
Yeah, you gotta keep them guessing, baby. So shout out to the Dead Kennedys on that. And now we're gonna go to another famous group here, man. Iron Maiden, self-titled record right here. You have Paul Di'Anno on vocals here, so kind of a little different, obviously, in Maiden's catalog right there. And, it's interesting going back, Dad, to these, kind of 70s, 80s, where, this was obviously considered heavy metal at the time. You listen to them, 40 plus years later, it's still hard rocking and whatnot, but as metal and just harder music has just gone through the years.
It's not speed metal.
No, it doesn't, that think, and at least in my traditional metal sense right there. But Dave Murray on guitar just comes out of the gate on fire, man, and just musically just get fired up, ready to go to take on the world with old Eddie that's on the cover here. Favorites on this: Prowler, Phantom of the Opera, and Transylvania.
All right, well, my third pick is a band that has shown up for me in multiple years.
Yeah, man.
Sound Effects, The Jam, 5th studio album. Spent 19 weeks on the UK album charts, peaking at 2. In the US, spent 11 weeks on the chart, peaked at 72, which is their highest by far. Great critical success. In 2006, Q Magazine placed it at 15 in their list of 40 best albums of the 80s. NME 487 on the list of 500 greatest albums of all time. You got the song Start, and of course you got the classic That's Entertainment. But
one of the great songs ever, man.
One of the great songs ever. The thing with the Jam is, for me, on this trilogy of albums that are just so unbelievable for them, is the consistency. Every song is incredibly well written, and Weller delivers. Everybody delivers. And so this might be my favorite album of theirs, but it kind of alternates. It depends on the day. We're going to go to an album that, is not PG-13, boys and girls. We'll go with Prince's third studio album.
Oh, I like it.
Dirty Mind. Went to 45 in the U.S. He's about to just ascend into the stratosphere soon, but definitely controversial, especially during those times. Now, with the way music is now, you probably wouldn't think, well, you still might think twice, but it wouldn't be nearly as bad, but controversial for those sexual lyrics and topics. You got Uptown, you got Dirty Mind. When You Were Mine, Do It All Night, pretty much self-explanatory there, but it shows you what Prince was about to do.
Oh yeah, man, and I think you look at that album cover, you know what you're about to get into.
Yeah, you know, like, I ain't buying this for the boys and girls.
And what, he's in his early 20s here, just already having that confidence and that charisma, which is so impressive. And Uptown's one of his best tracks, man. Just so danceable, so groovy and awesome, man. So really enjoy that pick that you got right there, Dad. For mine, I'm going to Peter Gabriel's third record,
self-titled.
Yeah. So it's weird with Peter Gabriel. I think his first 4 records are all just called Peter Gabriel. So some people call this Peter Gabriel 3 or Melt. Due to the album cover, man. He continues to show off that impressive solo career that he had up to this point, and a bit of a dark record kind of fits the album cover as well. Games Without Frontiers, I think, is one of his better songs. It features the lovely Kate Bush on backing vocals, decent hit.
One of your favorites.
Yeah, man, and the closer that was on the top 10 Peter Gabriel, we did Biko, that covers the life of anti-apartheid activist Steve Biko, man. A great jam right there. Through the Wire is another really strong song.
So one thing we've learned, Trey, I'll interrupt before you go on to your next pick, is that if anybody asks you what's your favorite Peter Gabriel album, just say self-titled.
Just say the
self-titled. You're going to be right, and just walk off, man, because they can apply that wherever they want over the first 4 albums.
No, man, I like that, and finishing off my list is one that might be number one for a lot of people.
I was just going to say, most people would have this at one.
And though I do enjoy it, it might not even be my favorite Talking Heads record. That'll come up in a little, future down the road. But we have Remain in Light by Talking Heads. They are moving further into that world music direction. And I mean, if anything, I think people are going to take away the just unbelievable rhythms that are on this record. Tina Weymouth on bass is really on fire, as well as Chris on the drum kit. And Byrne, it continues to kind of expand and experiment out as well. You have their most famous song, I'd say, Once in a Lifetime.
Oh yeah, and just one of my favorite songs of all. I love that song.
Iconic music video as well. Love that jam. But Born Under Punches, Houses in Motion, Listening When are all worth the time. And it is interesting because Once in a Lifetime is so famous and accessible, so to speak.
It doesn't fit on
the rest of the record. Has a different type of wavelength on it, so to speak, man. But yeah, that's rounding out my list. And who do you got?
Well, I'll tell you, on the Talking Heads, the first time I listened to that album, I'm like, wait, what? And I know it is, as you said, it's a lot of critics' number one pick for this year, but for me, it wouldn't even made my list because, well, for me, the Talking Heads, I don't have any one of their albums that I really love. And I could put together a heck of a playlist with their stuff. And I love Burn. I love some of his solo stuff. But yeah, I think that was a good call to put it in at your 5. My 5 is going to be another one that a lot of people would have maybe at number 2 on their list. Closer by Joy Division, second final album. It was released 2 months after the suicide of the band's leader, Ian Curtis. Love Will Tear Us Apart was a single, and a lot of people think it was on this album.
Yeah, because it is probably their most famous song.
It's right in there, but it was not on the album. This was NME Album of the Year. Post-punk at its finest, Trey. We got Isolation, Atrocity, Exhibition. Just a really good album. And, you know, these guys, don't worry, though, besides Ian, of course, these guys are going to go on and maybe appear on another list in a different incarnation.
No, man, I do like that pick, Dad. And, I might like Closer a little bit more than Unknown Pleasures, actually. I don't know if that's a hot take. But yeah, man, all in all, it's interesting. We have a lot of different genres represented between our two.
Because the 80s are trying to find their... We're coming out of disco and everybody's trying to find their way.
So, I think that's interesting as we go through the years to see, okay, what's dominating, what's looking ahead, man. So it was interesting list that we got here.
The synthesizers haven't taken over yet, but
that's right. That's right. Some honorable mentions, keeping in with kind of that post-punk Bauhaus. In the Flat Field almost made my list, man. Motorhead with a little Ace of Spades action, one of the great songs of the of hard rock and metal and whatnot. AC/DC Back in Black, I'm sure, is on a lot of people's lists as well. Rush, Permanent Waves, Echo and the Bunnymen, Crocodiles, Sabbath with old Dio, Heaven and Hell, great record, Judas Priest, British Steel, and then a little punk with X, Los Angeles, rounding it out. But as always, man, let us know which of these lists you preferred more. Be sure to let us know your list as well in the comments. And I guess that 81 is around the corner.
81 is around the corner. And guys, if you'd like to support us in any way, help keep these lights on in 2022, our Patreon link is below and on the end screen that is about to hit. And we'll see you guys for 1981.